Hey everybody, welcome back to my layout. So today I'm just going to do some more ballasting. This is the ballasting I've already done here. And this is the section I need to do still. So about half the module, or 4 feet or so, times 2 tracks and a couple of turnouts here. So as you can see, I've done my ballasting a little differently on the siding versus the main here. The siding is fine gray ballast from Woodland Scenics, and it's just straight fine gray ballast. The main is a mixture of 2 parts fine gray, 1 part fine brown, and 1 part of coarse gray ballast. It gives it just a little bit more texture, a little bit more color. And when it's all said and done, I am going to weather the ballast to kind of blend it all in. But I think this video will just be to show how I'm going to end up doing this whole section here. Okay, so the goal here is I'm going to make some more ballast. So you can see I have a bit of a blend in here already. But we do need some more for this to work. So we're going to get our sort of medium ballast. I think I said coarse earlier in the previous clip, but I actually meant medium. So we'll do 1 scoop of that. We're going to do 1 scoop of brown here. This is fine brown. And 2 scoops of fine gray. 1 and 2. That's probably going to be enough now, but the most important part here is just to sort of shake it up a bit. Just a couple inversions. Now the key here is to not do it this way. If you vibrate it like this, you're going to stratify the ballast. All the fine stuff, watch this, will come to the top. The coarser stuff, the medium stuff, goes to the bottom. And so you can see, you would end up, maybe it doesn't show so well, but you would end up pouring all that fine stuff on the top. So, there we go. So that's nicely mixed. So we're just going to do a rough mix. And we'll put that aside. Okay, so I've gathered all the supplies we're going to need for this. So in the back here, I've got a bucket for just putting some straight glue in. You'll see why I do that shortly. I've got some isopropyl rubbing alcohol. And I've got a brush that's I'm going to use for spreading the ballast between the ties. I've got another brush for spreading this straight glue in this bucket back here. I've got a mixing bowl, and I've got an eyedropper, one that holds quite a bit, holds 5 mils. I'm going to use this. Once I get the ballast down, I'm going to use this to soak the ballast with alcohol. I prefer to drizzle it rather than spray it. Then I'll use this mixing bowl here, and I'll mix my glue water here. And then once I've done that, I'll use this syringe again and drizzle that all over the ballast. So next thing we'll do is we'll get going and get this surface prepped and ready for ballast. Okay, so the first step is to take some of this glue here, and this is what I like to do. Not everybody does the same thing, but I like to paint this glue along the shoulders. What I figure this does is it helps to grab the ballast from underneath when I lay it on. Now the key is to not do too much at once, meaning not to go too far with it down this track, because it actually sets pretty quick, and if it goes off before you have a chance to lay your ballast, and it didn't do anything, it was a waste of time. So I'm being fairly generous here with it. Less of an issue in here because it's got a natural valley. The ballast isn't going to go anywhere. It's just going to sit in there. Whereas on the outside, on the field side of the rail, the ballast can disappear and run down the slopes. So this kind of helps it a little bit. And we do up here. So then what I do is I go, once I get this on, I just pour the shoulders first. Just get the ballast on there so it can start sticking to it. And I can see that I'm running out of time on this. This first bit here is starting to get a little dry. And a lot of these materials here, this grout for instance that I'm kind of painting over right now, will start to suck all the moisture out before you can even think about it. And let's get that off the tops of the rail, head and the ties. Here we go. All right, that's good enough. So we'll do that short section there. So take a little bit of this ballast here. Sorry, it's gonna be blocking the view a bit here. And what I try and do is just sort of make a slope. Just tap it out. Tappity tappity tap. As Bob Ross might say. Just cover all the glue. The rest will come later and be glued down as we go. There we go, maybe a little bit more here. We'll deal with that with the brush soon. Okay, and this side. Okay, now we'll get our ballast brush and we'll just sort of tamp it a little bit, get it in there. That, get those glued on bits off. Now I've got an unusual profile shape here, so I'm just going to fix that with this. A little bit more ballast there, a little bit here. Sometimes it can seem like too much, so we'll just spread it until we're happy with it. This part of laying ballast is the part that takes forever. Just trying to get the ditch profiles in place. Trying to make it look as good as you can. So that's good for that part for now. So we'll do this side here. Sweep off the tops. Okay. All right, so the next step is to take your ballast and put a little bit more in the middle. Now I'm guilty of putting too much in the middle and then drive myself nuts, so I'm going to try and do a little bit less. I was picking ballast off the rails and ballast off the tie tops, the last bit I did that I showed you in the beginning of the video, that ballast, oh, that was a nightmare. So we're just going to just get this to settle in amongst here. Like that. We'll take these out for now. These lines are so covered in glue right now, they ain't gonna conduct any electricity anyways. Not that I'm running anything. Here we go. That's actually pretty good. Yeah, I used a bit less ballast than I did in the last sections that I did. Good. Do need a little bit more. What I'm trying to do is fill in the in between the tie ends here. There we go. Anywhere where it looks a little bit bare. And ideally, you don't want it to be perfect anyways. Perfect ballast does not look like real ballast. All right. Ooh, shit. That was too much. Okay. Easily fixed. The goal here is to get it off of the rail webbing, off the surface of the ties. And you kind of want it to look seated in there too. Like the ties shouldn't look like they're floating either, particularly on a main line like this is. We're just gonna make sure I've got nothing on top. You know, and the odd ones you get on top can be just scraped off after. But I've already painted these ties and the rail brown, like tie brown. And so if I do too much scraping, which I had to do on the other side, I lost a little bit of that paint. It came up with some of the ballast, which isn't the end of the world, because I'm going to spray it to weather it anyways, and that should all get hidden up, but it's kind of annoying. And you do all that work and you just scrape it all off anyways. It's a bit of an art form here. It's probably one of the most tedious aspects of modeling, I find. There we go. Just doing little bits at a time. Also trying not to breathe too hard on it. A little bit more. All right. I think we're at a point where we can think about fixing this stuff down now. And even if I do fix it down, I don't like it, for whatever reason, I can always add more. And just do another layer. So I'm going to call that done. That looks pretty darn good. A couple granules here. Let's see if I can get them off. Sometimes your brush will get a little staticky. It's kind of annoying as well. And Woodland Scenic's ballast is made from walnut shells, so it actually gets pretty staticky. Good, so that's that. So I'll join you in a minute here with the next step. Okay, the next step. I put some rubbing alcohol in here. This is 70% rubbing alcohol. And I'm just going to run a bead over the rail here like this. The rail kind of breaks the impact of it. So it doesn't just go flooding everything and washing all your ballast back onto the ties after you painstakingly clean them. So we start there, let it run down. This method, unlike spraying, this method actually does use a significant amount of isopropyl alcohol, but I think the result's a bit superior. Just from my past practice of doing it one way and then doing it this way. So the stuff on the banks is hanging on pretty good. Largely because it's got a dried up layer of glue holding it now. On the bottom side, it's just stopping it from eroding. And this is going to make a big difference when you put the glue on. It's just going to run and flow right through it very nicely. So there we go. So that's that. Okay, so I've made a mixture of glue and water and a little bit of soap. So this mixture is about 60% water, maybe 40% glue. And again, same method, drip it over the rails. And that alcohol is going to pull it into all the crevices. Yeah. And you are going to get some ballast floating when this happens. So even though you get it perfectly cleaned up, you may end up having to scrape some off the rails anyways, or off the tie surfaces. There we go. And this is pretty well soaked. You kind of want it to look white for a while on top. That's where you'll know you got enough glue in there. And this white glue will leave a bit of tide marks here. So what I'll end up doing is kind of going over this with some new dirt anyways. But I just noticed on this side, it's hard to see from your angle, is I need just a little bit more of this stuff. Just out here. Just to fill the bank in a bit. So I'll try to keep this out of the glue. There we go. I think we had a little bit of it wash away, so this will save me a step later. And it's sucking it up like from below. It's crazy. These walnuts are porous. There we go. So that is a short little section there, all ballasted up. So we'll give this about 24 hours. And so this time tomorrow night it should be done. It should be nice and dry. I'll turn the heat up in here just a little bit to facilitate that. And we'll wipe this. Like this. There we go. Good. Okay, so you can see here that the ballast is now dried. So what I'm going to do is just kind of get these odd little bits off that have stuck on. Like so. Like that. Just knock them out there. Anything that's sort of above the rail like that. You can see here, it's a bit darker brown, and here, maybe shiny darker brown. That's because I've scraped the paint off a bit doing this, which is why it's good to get most of it off before it dries. And the goal here is to just make sure those flangeways are clear and that there is nothing left on top of the ties where you can manage it. So over here there's some as well. There. There. And that's basically it. You know, I may want to add a little bit more ballast here and just maybe a touch here to here, just to kind of fill in a couple gaps where I was maybe a little too shy with the ballast. That I can do that when I do the next sections. After doing our demo section here, I did add a bit more ballast. And you can see there's still just a short section in between here is the switches. One tip with these is, as you can see, I did do around the points here. And so what I would do is, just as it was setting up, I just move the point like that, and you'll feel it kind of click as it comes unstuck. Then come back maybe an hour later, just do it again, and then maybe again the next day, like that. And now that's forever free. And I don't hesitate to glue in here. All through here, I'll glue it all up. And haven't had a problem yet with gluing my points shut or anything like that. Just give them a bit of a wiggle as you go. And that should do it. So the next video I think I will do when it comes to ballasting is maybe the weathering of the track. So I'll weather the rails and around the switches as well, where their oil would be and grease and things like that. And that's it. Hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching.